because because they said they want us to give opinions on love and friendship. Yeah, and I've got plenty of that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
What do you guys think love is about? What is love about, y'all? Brandon, what is love about?
Okay, so love is about whenever you when you met a girl or when you met a boy, you notice how you want to love someone. That you're in love, like your heart beats saying like, then your cheeks goes bashful, like you'll be saying like, wow, I'm in love. When you get your first kiss though, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm in love.
Yeah.
So there's different kinds of love. That's romantic love. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, heart fluttering. I love it.
Love it.
What other kinds of, Garth was mentioning, there's other kinds of love. What other kinds of love? Dominique, what do you think?
Family love, like caring.
Family love, caring. Yeah. Caring for those members in your family that are close to you. Family is really important. Ooh, Baldwin's going for it. Yes, Atticus.
Well, there is love for like caring for family, whether it's brothers or sisters, but there's also love that other family members would have for you, like mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, and like and cousins, you know.
Yes, family love. Micah.
Just feel like really warm inside.
Oh, that's what the feeling of love is like, huh? Feeling
Yeah.
warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah.
What do you
Love is
think?
happiness.
Love is happiness.
Love
What do you
is an open door. I'm roasting.
I think it's time I show the world what love is all about. I think it's time I show the world what I had figured out. Maybe it's a secret, but I think I'll let it out. 'Cause I think it's time I show the world what love is all about. It's taking time to show you care. That's what love's about. It's being kind and playing fair. That's what love's about. It's a little hug, a helping hand. That's what love's about. It's taking time to understand. That's what love's about. I think it's time I show the world what love is all about. I think it's time I show the world what I had figured out. Maybe it's a secret, but I think I'll let it out. 'Cause I think it's time I show the world. Yes, I think it's time I told the world. I think it's time I show the world what love is all about.
I was 5 years old when I recorded That's What Love's About with my dad in the studio. Then love seemed so simple. It seemed so simple to relate to one another. As I got older, I was exposed to the painful realities of the world we live in, of illness, heartbreak, trauma, white supremacy, racism. The list goes on. To love is to be radical. To love is to wake up to the injustices of the world that we live in. To love is to accept being vulnerable despite how uncomfortable it might make us feel. To love is to move away from our need for perfection and move towards radical acceptance.
What's wonderful about our program is that each student, whatever their ability, is paired with a chaver, with a friend or a chavera. Rebecca has been with us and with our students for so many years. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity as we're speaking about just the fact that every single person is made in the image of God, and the fact that we created a program called Beit Bracha, where we believe that every child is a blessing and every Jewish child deserves the best Jewish education and ability to be integrated in our Jewish community. Rebecca, tell us a little bit about your experience and why you've been with Beit Bracha for so long.
Seeing the students I work with integrated into the mainstream classroom really allows me to see the power of community and support come together to propel each student forward. I think something that I really hope to do through Beit Bracha is help the other students in the classroom by setting an example for them about what they can be doing to help ensure that everyone in their classroom feels a part of the community, a part of the group, and feel like they are included.
We learn in Pirkei Avot from Rabbi Chanina. He lists kind of various people that we learn the most from. And at the end of the list, he says, we learn the most from our students. So tell me what you've learned from your Beit Bracha students.
Seeing how every achievement in class, whether it was learning to read a new word or recognizing a new letter or being enthusiastic about singing the prayers and just feeling the music and the power of the prayers was so beautiful. I think another thing that I've learned from my students, all of them throughout the years, has been that if you really put your mind to something and you really focus on what you are able to do, rather maybe something that's a little bit more challenging, but seeing your strengths and focusing on those can really help you achieve all that you want. And I think that that's something that the classroom and the students have always done.
And I remember one of our students had her bat mitzvah, and she gave her speech, she gave her Devar Torah, and the main theme, kind of the challenge to everyone, was to see the synagogue as your second home. And she said in her speech, I mean, it was just, it hit my heart so much. She said in her speech that no, actually, her home is her second home and Sinai Temple is her first home.
Oh my God.
It's so sweet, but it also was just such an eye-opener to realize that in creating this program, I don't think we realized how much we could not just transform kind of the Jewish experience for each of our kids, but also transform our community.
Hola, salam, shalom. Tell me how are you, ayo? I'll thanks to Darabah. Happy New Year, Baruch haba.
I hope to see my friends in the new year.
I hope that everyone is healthy and happy. And I think my biggest wish is to be able to see everyone soon. Happy New Year, everyone!
I want to listen to those without a voice.
Hola, salam, shalom. Tell me how are you? I find thanks to Darabah. Happy New Year, Baruch haba.
I want the COVID to go away so my activities can be open again. I would like to work at my other job.
I hope for 2021 that we all get along and get rid of COVID.
I want to say goodbye to 2020 and say hello to 2021.
Hi, my name is Elaine Hall. People call me Coach E, but what I longed for was to be called Mama. I wasn't able to give birth biologically, so I adopted a little boy from Russia, where my grandparents came from. Soon after I brought him home, he was diagnosed with autism, and he didn't speak. Traditional therapies didn't work for him, so I sought to join him in his autistic world. When he would flap his hands, I'd flap with him, and we'd be birds flying around the room together. And if he would spin in circles, we'd hold hands and spin together, falling on the floor, laughing, becoming one in this liminal space, this different space, but extraordinary. It took until my son was 4 years old that he was able to say the word Mama. And when I heard it, it was the most glorious word I ever heard in my life. He never spoke much, very few words. And I've learned to listen to the child that doesn't speak. Today he types, and his one letter at a time, to make one word, to make a sentence, to make speeches that have been heard by thousands.
I cannot speak. For whatever reason, God has intended for me to be mute. Many people might believe that I cannot think, but despite their thinking, I can. What's more is that I listen. A lot of people may stare at me, and when they do, I listen to their body movements and eye gaze. I listen to their ignorance. I listen because I have no choice but to take in the world in the way I can. Listening is different from hearing. When you hear someone, you simply recognize that they are emoting sounds. When you listen to someone, you actually process what they are saying and internalize it. What do I think of the people who stare? Let's break it down. What they are saying is that they are unsure of me. They can't quite figure me out and don't know how to categorize me. They are saying that I am not the way they are. That something's not right. Now for the second part, how I internalize it. I used to have some issues with this. I used to believe the stares and thought there was something wrong with me. I used to get down on myself for not fitting in. Now, I am much more confident in myself and my diagnosis. I am an advocate for autism awareness, an emissary, if you will. I welcome the stares, and I wish people would actually ask, what's different about you? I've internalized that some people are uninformed, not knowledgeable about special needs, and need to learn about neurological differences. I don't take it personal anymore. I've listened enough. It's time for me to speak, however it may sound, through an electronic device, my hands, or my mouth. Now it's your time to listen. Are you ready?
He has taught me so much. He's my greatest teacher. I like to think that my son is a walking Torah. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a non-speaking autistic child to raise the consciousness of a village.
Love is the most important thing that God created, and we see that in His breath. God's breath is what lives in us all.
story. The past, the present, the future before us. Not an afterthought, you thought you could ignore us? We are whole. We are holy. Holy, holy. Created. That's right. From love. Made of one breath. You and me. Holy, holy. We are
Hi, I'm Shira Artson. I'm Jacob Artson's twin sister, and these are his words. When I was 6 years old, my family moved from Orange County to LA. Several years later, we went back to our old synagogue for a bar mitzvah of a childhood friend. At the service, I ran into a young woman who used to babysit me, and she asked if I remembered her. I replied, "Of course I remember you. I remember everyone who smiles at me." I want to propose to you today that the most powerful tool for inclusion may also be the simplest, just smiling. The reason I remembered that young woman was because when I was 4 years old, there were a few others who smiled at me. Mostly, I was invisible because I was nonverbal. Now, there are more people who smile at me, and I remember every single one. Many professionals in the autism field suggest that people with autism are not aware of others. In my case, it is the opposite. I am acutely aware of how others engage with me because it is hard for me to initiate engaging with them. So when I see someone smile at me, I know that I am visible to them. And that reduces my anxiety enough to try to engage back. Including people with disabilities in faith communities really isn't about disability at all. In my experience, inclusion is really a mindset that each person has dignity and value no matter who they are. In order to include people with disabilities, we have to make our communities places that welcome people of all backgrounds, whatever their gender, or race, or ethnicity, or age, or religious background, or place of origin, or whether they may be single or in a relationship. If we can welcome people who may be in addiction treatment, or had prior gang involvement, or whose political views are different from ours, and people struggling with all of the many challenges that life presents, then our communities will be places that welcome people with disabilities too. I think in the end, all human beings want the same thing. We want a place to feel like we belong. So, let's start by smiling at each other. I see you. Do you see me?
Shalom, everybody. I want to give you a perspective on some of the perks of being the parent of a person with autism. I need to start by saying it's a challenge. Sometimes I feel broken and crushed. Sometimes I watch the struggles that my son Jacob goes through, and it can knock me for a loop. And of course, it's a challenge to manage the social constraints and the expenses and all, but I don't want to focus on that for the moment. Those are real, and we need a community that welcomes us and sees us for who we are and steps into that space. But what I have learned from my son Jacob is resilience. Jacob can't afford to be knocked down for good. Jacob has to get back up and get back into the fight, and he's taught me to do that too. So I am, I believe, a much more resilient person than I ever would have been had it not been for my commitment to him and my love of him and my being inspired by him. Jacob has taught me what my real priorities and values have to be, and he's forced me to redefine my life to fit them. You know, we all talk about we just want our kids to be happy, we don't care about money, but blah, blah, blah. It doesn't ring true, because every time your kid has a choice, we push them in a certain direction. Ego, career, aspirations, wealth, security, prestige, all those things. But when you have a child who has to measure differently, then you have to come face to face with your own bias, the ways that you've sold out your core values too. And it forces you constantly to have to struggle to realign what matters most with what you claim matters most. So having a son on the autistic spectrum means that I have to love him for who he is and accept his triumphs as they are. And that makes me a better person. And then the last thing I want to say in perks of living with someone with autism, I get the best hugs of any dad on the planet. I get the most sincere criticism sometimes, and the most resilient loyalty. And I've learned, I think, to be more loving and more loyal because I'm the father of someone with autism. Jacob is not just my son, he's in many ways my Rebbe. And if we can open ourselves to the diversity of people's abilities and the many ways those are packaged and the many ways they appear in our lives, well, then maybe there's room for us to be welcomed too. And we also can find a space to be able to shine authentically as we are. Shalom.
Hi, my name is Samara Wolpe, and today I want to talk to you all a little bit about my friend Lucas. Lucas and I met when we were in pre-K. I was 4 and he was 6. He was sweet, kind, gentle, and almost completely nonverbal, although he did say my name. We were close friends until I changed schools a year later, but he made a deep impression on my memory, and when I was 16, we reconnected. He actually remembered me, and we became fast friends again. I knew, although I didn't at age 4, that he was on the autism spectrum. In order to understand him better, I began to read about autism spectrum disorder and became captivated. I started to volunteer at his after-school programs and really started seriously to think about studying autism in college. Several years later, when I graduated from college, I was sure. I started applying to PhD programs in psychology and education with the goal of studying autism. I met up with Lucas and asked what he was doing now, and he told me all about Spectrum Laboratory. He invited me to come see the work they were doing, and from the first moment I walked in the door, I fell in love with the program and the people. Spectrum Laboratory is an organization that works to help young adults on the autism spectrum to gain employment in the entertainment industry. They offer classes in a variety of performative and creative arts, from improv to music to animation. They support neurodiversity and hire their own students who excel in the individual mentorship program, including my friend Lucas, who now works as a sound engineer part-time for Spec Labs, which is pretty cool. When you love someone on the autism spectrum, you by necessity worry about their future and where they will fit into a world that is not prepared to accept them. Spec Labs is one of the few places that provides community, fun, and roads to real employment for adults on the autism spectrum. Apart from the incredible work they do, I've come to think of the students and faculty and everyone in between, since they hire their own students a lot of the time, as some of my closest friends, and have found a community that is accepting, kind, fun, funny, talented, and open to all. I honestly can't say enough good things about Spec Labs, and I'm so grateful to everyone watching and showing their support. Thank you so much.
It's my heart. It's my heart. It's my heart. And just deal with it. A microphone is a beautiful weapon. It's my truth, it's my confession. Mean people cannot pull me down when I make this awesome sound. Yo. And the world goes round and round. Microphone. I love a microphone. My debut album, The Fresh Princess of Friendship, aired in 2018, and I can't wait to play the Chicken Bone song. Make a wish. My mother's chicken soup is super delish, but I saw this freaky bone and said, Mom, what's this? It's a wishbone, honey, make a wish. Yo, I want the love of Miley Cyrus.
5 years with you already. This is so great.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Thank you.
I'm so overwhelmed.
Thank you for
Thank you so much for everything.
giving our kids a place to voice themselves, to teach them so much.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful.
It's powerful.
It's powerful.
It's everything.
Shema Yisrael, listen, Israel, v'ahavta, and you shall love. What does it mean to love God? It means in part to love God's world, not only the stars and the seas and the mountains and the trees and the earth, but also to love one another, to see that spark of God in another human being is not only to love that person, but to love the source from which she or he came. To love God is to love all that God has given us. We, who are God's children, love God for the creation, for the connection, for the possibilities, and for the past, for everything. V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. As God loves you, you shall love the Lord your God.
Love your God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your soul. Love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. Where you live, where you lie, where you stumble, where you thrive, with all you speak, with all you know, with all your soul. Be like God, one like God, in love and life. Be like God, love like God, with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul. When you seek, when you soar, when you breathe and breathe no more, love your God, be with God, go with God. Be with God.